What's up, Wizards? Welcome to MTG Alchemy. I'm your host, Koi Cook.
And I'm CJ.
Today we're going over CJ's deck tech that he's going to be playing in Episode 3 of Wizard Wars, coming up. Alright, so today we're going over CJ's deck tech, but first, if you want to be a part of our exclusive community on Patreon, go over to patreon.com/mtgalchemy. From there, you can get exclusive content such as behind the scenes footage and even get signed cards by all of us in the mail every single month. Also, go check out our local LGS sponsor, Gamer Utopia, located in Rogers, Arkansas. We're giving away one VIP ticket to War of the Spark pre-release weekend on April 27th at Gamer Utopia. This VIP ticket is good for one pre-release event and the Gamer Utopia exclusive playmat. All you have to do to enter our giveaway is to follow the link in the description below, and that'll take you to our Discord channel. Join the chat in the Gamer Utopia giveaway chat, and that will enter you into the giveaway for War of the Spark pre-release weekend at Gamer Utopia on April 27th. We'll see you there and look forward to joining the conversation. Alright, so today we're getting into CJ's deck tech. Who are we playing with?
On the next episode, I'll be playing with Marlin of the Morn Song. She is really cool. She's a 2/3, 3-drop. She costs 2 black and a colorless to put out. She says that players can't draw cards. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player loses 3 life, then searches his or her library for any card and puts that card into their hand and then shuffles their library.
So that is really bad, because that doesn't leave you... tutoring every turn is really bad, and the reason is because now you can't rely on, or you can't leave it up to chance that you're going to get your land that you need from the top of your deck. You have to go and get it yourself. You have to go get land, otherwise you're not going to have enough land to play the bigger spells that you need.
Exactly, and that's where it could be good on my part. Unfortunately, with this deck, I'm never going to be struggling with mana, because every game that I play with this deck, I'm guaranteed to get my commander every turn on either turn 1 or 3. Turn 1 if I use a Dark Ritual to put it out. Ooh. If I'm lucky enough to start this game off strong with the Dark Rit to Marlin.
So those for you that aren't familiar with Dark Ritual is a 1-drop. Add 3 black mana to your mana pool. So turn 1, you play a swamp, tap it, Dark Ritual. You have 3. Now you can play Marlin. So that's turn 1. Everybody has to go digging for the cards that they want as opposed to drawing, and you can't draw extra cards anyway. And so in a lot of commander decks, like if you watched episode 2 of Wizard Wars, I like to draw a lot. I like to draw on any deck. I want to be able to draw extra cards to keep stuff in your hand, get card advantage. That way you can just have that extra momentum over the other players.
Right, and I made this deck because there's 2 things I hate. 1, I hate being milled out because that's not fun. I don't get to play my cards. All I get to do is watch them go from library to graveyard.
He really enjoyed being milled out in episode 2.
And nobody likes being milled. Another thing is Laboratory Maniac. I do not like that card, especially whenever everybody just draws themselves up and
sounds
then just
to me
plays
like
it in.
It sounds to me like he made a deck that he made a deck because of what happened in episode 2.
Well, it's interesting with Marlin because it says players can't draw cards. So with Marlin out, if people are playing with the mill deck or a Laboratory Maniac, since you can't draw cards, can't's gonna trump the do.
Yep.
On Laboratory Maniac and all mill type cards as far as losing the game if you were to draw a card, because Marlin states that you cannot. So it's a mill protection deck.
I mean, you could still mill. I mean, I can still mill you by just regular, put the top X cards of your library into your graveyard. But as far as the milling the way I did it on episode 2, you can't do that.
Right.
Because I made everybody draw a bunch of cards. I made myself draw even more cards. But yeah, so I mean, it is an extent of mill protection. But there are a lot of other things in this deck. So first of all, I want to start out by saying that there are 62 lands in this deck.
Yes, there is. There's only 3 non-basic lands in this deck. One of which is Glacial Chasm. That's an awesome land, but it comes at a cost with the cumulative upkeep. of 2 life that you have to pay. So every turn it's going to go from 2 life to 4, then 6, then 8, and so on. But it makes it to where your creatures can't attack, which is fine. I don't really need to attack with this deck. All it does is cause problems everywhere. But it also says any damage that is dealt to me is prevented. So that's a key land for this deck. Other than that, it's got 58 basic swamps. So that's how I'm guaranteed to get my commander out every game turn 3, because I'm probably going to have 4 or 5 land in my hand on every draw.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, in late game, she's not that great, only because she's going to cost more to put out. And the only cards I'm probably going to be drawing that late is land. So I'm going to be heavily relying on, one of my curses that I can get out on turn 1, which is Curse of Vengeance. And it reads just enchant player. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell, put a brick counter on it. Whenever enchanted player loses the game, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the number of brick counters on Curse of Vengeance. So that could help me out later game if someone dies before me, so that I can kind of rebuild my hand.
All right, so tell me about some of the combos that you got going in this deck.
Well, one of the combos is pretty much based off of the amount of lands that I have in this deck, and that's for Ad Nauseam. So whenever I play that, I can reveal the top card of my library and put it into my hand, and I'll lose life equal to that card's converted mana cost, and I can repeat that process any amount of times. So the more lands I have, the less life I'm going to be taking. So really, as long as I've got over 25 to 28 life, I can put at most 60 cards into my hand all at once. That piggybacked with a creature card called Scourge Familiar. It just says it's a 5-drop 3/2 flyer, but it's not there for it to block or attack. It's just there for its ability, which is to choose and discard a card. And I'll add 1 black to my mana pool, and I can play that as a mana source. So I would just pick and choose 60 cards out of my hand and turn that into 60 black mana in my mana pool, and then hold on to anything like Exsanguinate or Torment to Hellfire. That'd be really good. So if I had 60 cards that I discarded and got 60 black mana to my mana pool, I'll use 2 of that and 58 for Torment to Hellfire.
Yeah,
and Torment to Hellfire is really cool, and it's a game-winning card. You would just repeat the process X times, where in this situation it would be 58 times, where each opponent will lose 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really like Torment of Hailfire because that's a win condition. I mean, he gets to discard a bunch of cards and makes you do that X times, where X could be 50 whatever, and you can't survive that because you can't sacrifice that many non-land permanents and take that much life. So it's a game-winning card, especially in a deck like this. Another one that I really like in this deck is Triskaidekaphobia. It's a 4-drop enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one. Each player with exactly 13 life loses the game. Then, each player gains 1 life. Each player with exactly 13 life loses the game. Then each player loses 1 life. So that's pretty cool because you're kind of going up and down with everybody's life total, trying to get them to 13. So if they're at 12, you want them to go up. If they're at 14, you want them to go down. So that way you can essentially just kill them because of an enchantment. So that's a pretty cool win condition.
Which is why I just had to add the Tree of Perdition.
So Tree of Perdition is a 4-drop creature plant defender with 0/13. You can tap it, exchange target opponent's life total with Tree of Perdition's toughness. Now on the previous person's turn, you get to tap it, make somebody's life total 13, and then on your upkeep, they die.
Basically. And there's ways that I can always retry a combo later. So if my tree doesn't live, or if any of my other combos get countered in some way, all I really have to have out is the Elixir of Immortality. Most people run this in Commander decks because it's crucial to their decks to get their cards back in their library, especially if they're playing against Mill. But anyways, with the Elixir, all you gotta do is just pay 2 mana and then tap it, and you'll gain 5 life, and then you'll shuffle the Elixir and your graveyard back into your library, and that's it. And if by chance my Elixir gets blown up and I need to get that back, I can just play Reto Lantern, which is a 2-drop artifact, and I just pay 3, and I can put a target card in a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library, and then I can just target my elixir to go back on into my library at the bottom, use Marlin to tutor for it, put it into my hand, play it, and I get my condition back to get my cards.
Right on.
So these two can kind of combo off of each other, but I'd have to say one of my favorite combos in this deck is Marlin on turn 3, and then at any point that I feel fit, just drop out a Teferi's Puzzle Box. So with Teferi's Puzzle Box, it states, during each player's draw phase, that player counts the cards in his or her hand, puts those cards on the bottom of his or her library, and then draws that many cards. So the combo with Marlin and Teferi's Puzzle Box is, on everyone else's turn, I will trigger Marlin first, so they'll lose 3 life and go and tutor for a card to put it into their hand. Next, I will trigger Teferi's Puzzle Box, and now they gotta dump their entire hand and draw that many cards, but with Marlin out, they won't even be able to draw. So you tutor for a card and lose 3 life, but you don't even get to use it because Teferi's Puzzle Box is throwing it away for you. So really the only way out of this lockup is to search for an instant that can destroy either Marlin or Teferi's Puzzle Box, or to grab a creature that has flash. That way you can put it on the stack before the puzzle box resolves. But then whenever my turn comes around, I'm always going to use the puzzle box first and get rid of my hand. Then I will go and get the 1 card from Marlin's ability. That way I'm playing 1 card per turn, and it's whatever card I want, and it makes it to where my opponents don't even get to play the cards in their deck.
Yeah, that's upsetting, CJ. That's an upsetting thing that I have to play against in episode 3. One of the I'm really loving this deck. I love the fact that it has so many lands in it, and there's really not that many spells. One of my favorite spells in it is Archfiend of Despair, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this here in a second. But Archfiend of Despair is a 8-drop 6/6 with flying. Your opponents can't gain life, and at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn.
So Archfiend of Despair is a part of one of my scariest combos. So with Marlin of the Mornsong, everybody's going to be losing 3 life and tutoring for a card. One of the cards that I need for sure, if this is going to kick off the way I want it to, is Ob Nixilis Unshackled. He's a 6-drop 4/4 with flying and trample, and whenever an opponent searches his or her library, that player sacrifices a creature and loses 10 life. And he's got a second ability that just says whenever another creature dies, put a 1/1 counter on him. So now, whenever I search, I'm just losing 3 life and getting stuff that's going to help me out. Then on your turn, you're going to lose 3 life off of Marlin, and then that's going to trigger Ob Nixilis, which is going to be 13 life.
Right.
And then if Archfiend of Despair is out, you just lost 13 at the beginning of your turn, and now Archfiend is going to make you lose 13 more. So that's going to be 26 damage, like life loss, on everyone's turn but mine, where I'm just losing 3.
A lot of number 13s in this deck.
Exactly. So it's going to help me get to my Triskaidekaphobia a little faster. So one thing that I really want to talk about is Phage the Untouchable. She is a 4 black and 3 colorless to cast, and she's a 4/4. And whenever she comes into play, if you did not cast it from your hand, then you lose the game. And whenever she deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature, and it cannot be regenerated. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. So she basically has Death Touch more to an extreme, so people are going to block this creature only because they don't want to lose the game if it goes.
It's kind of like Death Touch for a player.
Death Touch for a player, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That would be a cool commander, and I'm sure we'll see that eventually, huh?
Yeah, I'm working on a deck now based around Phage. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is how to get her from the command zone to my hand, or some other way to where I'm not casting her from there. Try to get her to switch zones somehow.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll figure it out. If you like today's deck tech, make sure you check out the description below for tapped out link. That way you guys can check out the other cards that we didn't cover today, but we covered most of them because there are 62 lands in the deck. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's definitely a different type of deck. So hopefully you guys can get some ideas and stump your playgroups with them. Question of the day. What do you guys think should go in this deck? Should there be more lands? Should there be less lands? What would you do differently in a deck such as this? Let us know in the comment section below. We'll see you guys next time on MTG Alchemy. From there, no. Also, check out. All right, getting into CDs.
My deck.